Hello everyone, welcome to The Lit Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Fee. Today I've got a book talk for you about Brandon Sanderson's latest release. It is from Secret Project #1. The book is called Tress of the Emerald Sea. It is a book set in the Cosmere. Brandon Sanderson has been very clever, I think, creating something similar to the MCU in the sense that his books connect together. His characters normally do not cross over very much, but there is Hoid, the character of Hoid, and Hoid is very present in this book. So if you are a fan of the Cosmere, if you enjoy reading Brandon Sanderson's books, I highly recommend that when you have the chance to read this book, you get your hands on it and you read it. A warning though to people in general as readers, this book Brandon Sanderson wrote for his family, and it comes across very much to me like a children's book. You know, like a father sitting around telling his family stories. The narrator is essentially Hoid, though there are points in the story where I'm not really sure that narrative point of view entirely works. Sometimes Hoid directly talks to the audience, references being Hoid, but there was one scene specifically, without giving specific spoilers, where Hoid as a narrator was talking to the audience and effectively said, "Oh, I couldn't follow Tress into the room," but then the story's narration continues with Tress and what's happening in the room. So it is fair to say that Hoid is the narrator, but also there are moments that if Hoid is telling the story, he either pieced together from clues or talking to other people or just made up because he wasn't there necessarily to see the events of what happened. But who knows? Maybe Hoid is always lurking in the shadows. Perhaps Hoid is like Santa Claus and able to see everything. What I really liked about this story was I forgot as it got into the narrative and is about this female protagonist who is a young adult who really is in love and just wants to be with the prince that she loves. She's just a commoner, just a common person. As the narrative continued, I kind of forgot it was a Brandon Sanderson book until it started talking about spores and how the spores could be used. And that's where I went, the brilliant Brandon Sanderson storytelling where he creates a magic system, creates a way that elements work together and a character has to figure out how it works and master it. So this time we have spores, and that's really fascinating to me. It's also one of those character stories where it's an adventure. The character has to go out in the world, see things the character's never seen before, experience things the character's never experienced before, put herself in danger in her goal to go to her prince, to be able to be with her prince. And that is always a fun story for fantasy. Fans of classic fantasy, I think, will really like the story in the way that it unfolds with that type of plot. If you are tired of reading stories that have that kind of plot and the way that it unfolds, then you might not be as happy with this story. But if you go into it understanding it is presented in that sort of way, then I think that you'll enjoy it. I've had a lot of fun with it. I backed the Kickstarter, which became the most successful Kickstarter ever. Brandon Sanderson raising over $40 million. I'm not sure why Brandon Sanderson needed $40 million, but we are now seeing the result of that, as it looks like he's taken that money and put it back into his company and is now focusing more on what it means to be an independently published author, to where his own company is publishing his works. And Brandon Sanderson, as a result of that, is taking on Amazon and taking on Audible, and that has blown my mind. That here in the last week or so, we got the blog entry and YouTube video from Brandon Sanderson openly declaring he is not going to release this as audiobooks on Audible, explaining his issues with how Audible treats indie authors and what that really means. Now, personally, I think it's great that he's taking a stand. He's using his platform to try and help authors everywhere, to try and make a difference in publishing and how all of this works. But as someone who uses Audible on a regular basis, I was annoyed because in my backing of the Kickstarter, I'm getting the ebooks and the audiobooks. I paid $60 and I'm getting 4 books in ebook and audiobook form, but they're not available through Audible. So that means I can't listen to them the way I normally listen to them. But that's fine. That's perfectly fine. It's just I don't have an account on the other platforms that he's made them available through, so I just downloaded the files. And and that meant I had to actually listen to them at normal speed. And something you may not realize about me is when I listen to audiobooks, I'm listening them at 2 times speed or 2.5 times speed. Sometimes I might even up it to 3 times speed, though that's rare. That really just depends on the narrator. It's usually 2 times speed, but this book I had to listen to at normal speed because I don't know how to take the program that is formerly known as iTunes, but now just music. I don't know how to make it speed up the audio as I'm listening to it, because normally I just listen to songs through that program. Took me a whole 12 hours to get through the book instead of getting through it in 6 hours. This book will eventually be released to the general public. Later this month, it's available as an ebook. Later in the year, you can buy physical copies of the books. I think it's wonderful that Brandon Sanderson has offered this Kickstarter. I think these are fun stories. It's interesting to see what he's been able to produce in addition to the rest of his impressive writing output. Again, I highly recommend this book if you like these kind of stories. If you like classic fantasy, if you like stories with young adults that go off on an adventuring journey from location to location, which gives you the world building along the way and allows the character to experience some sort of Brandon Sanderson style, learning the rules of how something works, which in this case, it's the spores and how to use the spores on that journey. If you don't like those kind of stories, though, you may want to give this one a pass. Alright, that's my book talk for today. Everything I had to say about the book for now. Feel free to ask questions down below, and I can do my best to try and answer them since I just finished the story. Every day is a good day for a book talk. Peace.